Yo! The NASCAR Cup Series has 26 tracks on its schedule, but little known fact, some areas on these tracks are weird and unusual. I came across a video called Weird Areas Inside MLB Stadiums, so I thought to myself, could this apply to any NASCAR tracks out there? And, yep.
It's stuck.
I created a full detailed list of them.
I was standing looking right at it and I couldn't move. I mean, I just froze. I never seen anything like that in my life. The car just disintegrated and I knew he was in it. And I thought he was hurt.
Back in 1990, Bristol Motor Speedway had a crossover gate in Turn 2 that Michael Waltrip hit during a race. This area created a scenario where drivers had the potential to drive head-on into a concrete wall like Waltrip did, which destroyed his car in half. Keep in mind that in 1990, safer barriers weren't a thing, and driving head-on into a concrete wall was a vicious impact to absorb. By 2002, that metal gate turned into a concrete wall that looked just like the rest of the track. But Mike Harmon hit the wall in the same way that Michael Waltrip did back in 1990, and once again, another car was torn into pieces.
There was no opening. We put the soft wall in, completely removed the gate, so it's impossible for that type crash to ever happen again.
Actually, Bristol's gate is now in Turn 3. For anyone that doesn't know, this is how the haulers get into the infield on race weekend. The gate pretty much just opens at a different angle now, and obviously now the gate is stronger and probably more durable too. The catch fence has been normalized at most NASCAR tracks after sometimes cars would fly outside of the racetrack. But Charlotte Motor Speedway actually doesn't have a catch fence in Turn 3. And although I would suggest that it's an unlikely scenario, cars could technically still go over the wall and land outside the track.
Got into the catch fence. For the second week in a row, we've had a vehicle in the catch fence. But again, the catch fence did its job. It kept that truck down on the racetrack, and you see it riding along the top of the safer barrier.
In this Kyle Busch onboard from 2014, you can visually see where the catch fence ends and where it begins again. If you want to know how effective catch fences are, look no further than the Carl Edwards Talladega flip in 2009. I personally didn't know Charlotte Motor Speedway didn't have a catch fence in Turn 3. I probably found out when I was playing iRacing or NASCAR Heat one time like 3 years ago. But I really want to know why Charlotte doesn't have a fence in this corner. I went ahead and did some Reddit research. Go Eagles 259 3 years ago posted a thread on Reddit. Today I learned there isn't a Turn 3 catch fence at Charlotte. Why? One of the responses is, they really need one there, but to be fair, Pocono didn't bother with one on the second straightaway / backstretch until Casey Kane took out some trees. I used to love trying to get the car over the wall there in NASCAR Thunder 2003. I've seen more thorough answers that say Charlotte doesn't think that there needs to be one, that it would be pretty impossible to go over the wall at that angle, and if it were to happen, there are billboards on the other side of the wall that could technically catch the cars. I was going to go through all the tracks in alphabetical order, but since we're on the catch fence topic, Pocono Raceway actually didn't have one in Turn 1 through the second straightaway until after the 2010 season because Casey Kane almost found his way outside of the track. I wanted to see if I could find a clip of the NASCAR broadcasters talking about this new catch fence, but surprisingly, I found nothing. So if you care enough, I'm going to put the full race replay in the description down below, and if you find anything, make sure to let me know on Twitter at RawGatorYT. When the Charlotte Roval was introduced to the NASCAR schedule in 2018, it definitely went through some trial and error. Originally, the track came out with a poorly designed chicane on the backstretch that didn't put the emphasis on slowing down. In the first few practice sessions at this new configuration, it didn't take long for drivers to hit the inside tire barrier on the exit of the chicane. This barrier was literally hit and had to be fixed 6 separate times before the first race was even held that weekend. Since then, NASCAR and Charlotte Motor Speedway have designed a much better chicane that requires drivers to slow down more, and the chicane's exit now includes plenty of room, so you won't be having to worry about that wall anymore. In 1994, Mark Martin actually found himself in an area of Talladega Superspeedway that they did not intend for him to end up. At the start-finish line, there was this guardrail that Mark Martin passed, and it was supposed to hold him within the track limits. Luckily, there was another guardrail placed behind it to prevent him from entering the crowd of spectators just 100 or 200 feet further. And I mean, you know what they say, NASCAR drivers will just always find new areas to hit. Advancing to current day, Talladega's front stretch is safer. The inside wall is more consistent and is now padded with safer barrier. On Talladega's backstretch, there are inside walls that are pointed at a bad angle for impact. That means that when drivers find these new areas, they are essentially hitting them at speeds of 160 miles an hour. At least 2 other racetracks on the NASCAR schedule have walls that are angled in a similar way, one of them being Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Brad Keselowski hit the inside wall off turn 2 in 2019, and he didn't hesitate to state his opinion after the crash.
But the guys in the booth kind of analyzing that maybe that was a good spot for the tires given that angle of the wall behind it.
Yeah, that's an interesting conclusion. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I think there probably should not be weird angles like that to wreck on.
The second track that has a weird barrier angle like this is Watkins Glen, and it's located just after the boot. In 2009, a pair of vicious crashes happened in this area of the racetrack, which caused heavy destruction to all cars involved.
We saw this happen with Jason Leffler's car the other day, get thrown back, and Jeff Gordon wide open, nowhere to go. It's good to see those guys get out of the car.
And there's no safer barrier there. That's just an Armco barrier, steel barrier. Fortunately, Jeff able to get the helmet off and walk away.
For the last of the weird areas in NASCAR tracks, I'm taking you to the Daytona International Speedway, but it's at the road course configuration. When NASCAR races the Daytona road course, they actually have an additional chicane to navigate through, and it's located just before the start-finish line. The reason this area is weird is because when you watch the IMSA Rolex 24, you won't see the drivers take this chicane. It was added specifically for NASCAR. On top of that, there are these giant yellow bumps called turtles, and hitting these will potentially cause damages to your car. However, this little addition and oddity has proven to be a success, judging from the Daytona Clash finish NASCAR had earlier in 2021. In theory, NASCAR road courses are much more likely to have weird areas than the ovals. In general, the tracks are longer in distance, there are much more turns, which would obviously mean that there are more opportunities for things to go wrong. We already talked about every other road course that NASCAR's Premier Series has raced on recently, but Sonoma Raceway has been left out. Turn 11 at Sonoma is a much different turn than what you're going to find anywhere else. It's absolutely filled with tire barriers. The most obvious moment here is when Brian Vickers propped Tony Stewart up on the outside barriers. He was literally stranded, like he couldn't move.
It's stuck.
And it's not uncommon to see drivers hitting the inside barriers as well. This really could be just the beginning. As of 2021, NASCAR added Circuit of the Americas, Nashville Speedway, Road America, and a Bristol dirt race to the Cup Series schedule. Depending on how well these races go, this could perfectly line up a part 2 of this video. The Bristol dirt race this year came to be a dusty one midway through. I really just can't wait to see what these new tracks bring. If you're still watching at this point in the video, I can't even begin to beg you to subscribe. You're already doing much more than enough for me by watching till the end. You being here right now goes a long way to getting me into recommended. And by the way, we hit 1 million views in 50 days on our second most recent video. And if you're still watching at this point, you're basically the reason why. It's always a ton of fun to make these type of videos, so make sure you're on a lookout for the next one.